Welcome to the Soul Deep Podcast with Jessica Jante. Join me as we dive deep into raw, real, in-depth conversations about life, love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, what it is we're really here for, and anything in between. I want this to feel like a safe space for anyone on a spiritual journey, trying to find answers in your truth by having open heart and open-minded conversations. And my hope for you as a listener is that you feel this is a safe space here, a place to hear things from a different perspective that may challenge you and your thinking in the best way possible, allowing you to give grace to how you've been raised or what you've been taught or told to believe. And perhaps you find your truth as I search for mine on this journey we call life. So grab your favorite drink, cozy on up to your couch or wherever you listen from, and join me for these soul deep conversations. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us for this episode. And so I have a beautiful guest here with me. And now I'm going to forget how you said it. Hannia? Did I say it right?
Hannia.
Hannia. Okay, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. When I look at it, I want to say Hannia. I don't know why, because it's an I and A at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get too far, I would love to do a little bit of grounding in with some breath, if you are okay with that. And if you are listeners, if you're driving, obviously don't close down your eyes. But if you're in a space where you can close down your eyes, just so we can really ground into our body, I suggest doing that. So closing down our eyes, we're just going to take some breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth, or whatever feels best for you. But just continuing this cycle of breath, this inhale and exhale, really allowing yourself just to land here in this space, in this moment, being fully present. We're so often trying to do all the things all at one time. We wear this badge of honor that we can multitask, we can do so many things, but it leaves us pulled in so many different directions, and we're never fully all in on anything. And so really allowing yourself, if you have the time and space, just to be here, allowing yourself to be present in this moment. I love to say that the present is a gift. It's like a present that you receive. And the more that you allow yourself just to be in the present, the more of a gift that it is to you. There's so many, if we're in the present moment, but we are on our phones or we're with other people, but we're distracted by other things, we're not really giving them our presence. We're not being present with ourselves, with our body. It just leads us to giving our power away to other things, being distracted. So just using this time, using your breath to bring you to this space, allowing your body this time to just be still and just be present with your breath. It is another gift that we can give ourselves, is just this power of the pause, to be with our breath. This slowing down of our body when we're so busy, we have so much going on, so much to do. Just taking even just a couple minutes to just be. So we'll just take a couple more breaths here together. Just inhale and exhale. And one more deep breath in. And if you feel comfortable doing a big audible exhale, letting it all out. And I'm just coming back to the space here whenever you're ready. Thank you for breathing with me. Thank you for
So
just
beautiful.
being. Yeah, I
Breath is such
love.
a powerful tool.
It is, isn't it? And it's something we
Yes.
forget. It's literally free. We could just use our own breath, and it just takes a little bit of time. What was that? Maybe 2.5 minutes at the most. That was
Yeah,
just being with our breath and how that can shift your body. Yeah,
exactly.
it's
It's just
amazing.
so accessible, and
Mm-hmm.
I think is one of the things that they, in general culture, we just don't forget. Like, we know we're breathing, and
Yeah.
we know obviously that without breathing we wouldn't be living,
Mm,
but we forget that
yeah.
breathing is actually a powerful tool for healing.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Yes. So this podcast, I love it just to feel like a cozy conversation we are having together. So what are you drinking today?
Well, lately, I'm a coffee girl, but lately I've been called for cacao. I don't know what is
Mm.
it. Like I have used different plant medicines along the journey, but cacao is one that was there but never in, and now it's calling me. So I've been playing around, and every morning I kind of either have it with ghee and curcuma, like a
Mhm.
turmeric. And like that's what I have right now: cacao, turmeric, ghee, and a little bit of maple syrup because I like the
Yeah.
sweet a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. But sometimes I play with different recipes. Like I'm like, okay, let's add cardamom, no cinnamon, no something else, and let's see how it comes out. And it just brings me back. It's like that's what I'm feeling. It's just kind of okay. I can start the day, and I like it, and I think it's gonna be a steady. I absolutely love it.
I love that. And I think I saw on your Instagram yesterday that you put peppermint
Mm-hmm.
oil in that. And I love that because I love a cacao. I do Dandy Blend cacao and some cinnamon, turmeric, and a little bit of sea salt. That's what I do. And then I saw your peppermint oil and I was like, oh, that just sounds like it would be wonderful.
I love it, especially during like I don't know. There's something with the snow and
Hmm.
cacao and peppermint that is like it puts you in a holiday mood.
Yeah.
Like I normally use like chocolate, like with whipped cream. My daughter loved that, like chocolate with whipped cream and peppermint. And I used to do that. I started doing that back in Montreal when like the first snow hit, and just kind of do that. And now with cacao, it's like okay, this is like an extra boost, and it's
Hmm.
just so nice and refreshing. And obviously, you gotta like I use peppermint that you can actually digest, right? But
Yes. Yes.
uh, it's so absolutely delicious. It's just a
Mm,
free breeze, like a fresh breeze in the morning.
yeah. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I'm just drinking some Mullein. My sister actually, she's gotten really into herbs and blending different like tea
Mhm.
blends and different things like that. And so when she was here a couple months back, she had brought some mullein, which is really good for like lungs and thing. And I've had something here for like the last week or so. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna use her tea. I'm gonna drink that today.
It's
So
beautiful.
hmm.
Well, we do have to like we're into winter season, right? So our bodies, our lungs needs to kind of
Mm,
receive that extra support,
yeah.
right? And in the seasons change. And one thing that I learned when I came to Canada, uh, it's new all seasons. Like where I come from, which is Costa Rica, then we don't have four seasons like steady four
Mm,
seasons, right?
yeah.
It's like rainy season and warm season. Basically, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure like the seasons and the renewal happen, but you don't actually live it. And when I came here, despite the cold, because it's an adjustment,
Yeah. I
I'm not
bet.
gonna lie, like it's an adjustment, right? You see how we wouldn't have Costa Rica wouldn't have such a beautiful weather if we didn't went through four seasons right now here,
Mm,
and the balance of nature, right? Like how one needs to have this so the other can have the other climate.
yeah.
And if it was like that, then it wouldn't exist the other either. Like there would
Mm,
be unbalance, and we work, our bodies work the same way, right? We adjust, and we need that renewal, our cells renew, our hair
mhm,
renew, our skin renew. It just happens in a way that we don't see it
mhm.
consciously, but
Yeah.
we do go through those. And learning from nature has been one big change for me. Like
Mm,
taking not taking it for granted, like
yeah.
really seeing it, waking up and like sun is out, especially in winter months. You
Yes.
don't get to see the sun so much. It's like, oh, it's out. Let's go and sit with it and
Yeah.
let's receive it and just for a moment, even if it is 10 minutes, sometimes it's just hi and go. But just sit and enjoy it and let whatever frequency needs to come. through and heal you. And I didn't grow up with this knowledge. Like this is
Mm.
something that I learned as an adult. And it's so beautiful because as a kid I had sun every day. I like
Mm.
in
Yeah.
my country has like the beauty that even when it's rainy season you will have sunshine, whether it's in the morning or it's in the evening, you will have sunshine, which is beautiful and it's a gift.
Yeah.
But we normally don't, like, people don't appreciate it. Like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sunny, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't really see it.
Right.
And now when you don't have that and then you have the
Yes.
contrast part, you can come and say like, oh wait, I do want to enjoy it because
Mm.
I know there are moments where you're not going to have it. And
Yeah.
the connection and the energy and the codes and everything that comes through, even if it's not mentally, like we don't process it logically, but we do receive it. And somehow that wisdom kind of do what it needs to do, even if we don't kind of filter through our mind. So it's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
I love that. Yeah. Mm. Okay, well, we need to get into who are you? Like, if you'd love to introduce yourself to our audience here and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a body and energy healer. My name is Hannia Bombhore. I don't settle well with labels, to be honest, because I do a lot of different things, and I feel like labels kind of put you on the spot, and then you have to stay there. And we are such a, like, we're energy. How can you label energy? How can you
Mm.
box energy? Right? Like you can't. And so basically, I love working with women. I started doing this very intuitively and more into my own healing journey. Like this was, I started with myself. Like
Mm.
I think we all start with
Mm.
ourselves. We
Yeah.
all have to find a spot where we say like, you know what, we cannot keep going that way. And then we go into this journey of self-discovery and inner work and going within, and we have to unlearn so many things that are kind of conditioning that are put on our frequency by our parents, by our teachers, by
Yeah.
society, by friends, by our own mindset, like our own perception, right? The what we perceive. And then when we start healing, it's like, I have to unlearn this. Like, no, this is not wrong. But you still have to go through these processes of processing the unlearning.
Yes.
So I like to help. I feel very called to work with women because when I started, it was very lonely, the journey. Like there was no Instagram like before.
Mm.
Like at the beginning, 10 years, 12 years ago, there was no Instagram. It was starting, and it was not this. You Google whatever, and then everything found. So it was more like a self discovery, like what works for me. And I didn't have many of the tools. A lot of the tools that I have now came when I met my husband. Like he opened the door because his
Mm.
background is an Ayurvedic background. He has an Indian background. So all the Eastern medicine that I wasn't aware of it
Yeah.
came into my life, right? So there was like, oh, we can use nutrition not for weight loss only, but for healing. And then we can use breath work and then meditation and like what is stillness?
Yes.
Like so many things that he brought, not as an take it, more like this is my way of living, this is what I'm doing. And then I was like, okay, that works. And then it just start kind of coming. And I started like 10 years ago, 11 years ago actually, with this journey. But there's so many pieces before that, even without the tools. I believe that I truly have knowing that we are always
Mm.
protected.
Yeah.
So even when I didn't have the tools, there was always this inner sense. So I help women come back to their bodies. Like you cannot take away the body. Everybody wants to be here,
Yeah.
but we alchemize through the body. Everything transmits through the body. So you have to be able to mix and work with both at the same time. So healing the body by raising your frequency, by working with your energy, by coming together to you and knowing that the medicine is within you. So I'm not doing
Mm.
the healing. I'm just reminding you
Yeah.
that it's always there. You just have to kind of have the pieces where you can connect with yourself, and then the medicine will come by itself. And I just become the facilitator or the signpost that says, hey, there's a way here that you can
Mm.
walk through.
Yeah.
I already went through, like, the path is here, come on. And it's more like that kind of inspiration. So That's how I work with my clients, basically. And everybody has differently. So sometimes it's weight loss, sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's just I don't know how to pinpoint it, but I need to work something, and we have to kind
Mhm.
of figure out that, because sometimes it's just trauma or things believed that have been encoded that they don't even know they're being encoded, but the body is telling you, and that's why we need to involve the body. The body speaks louder than the mind, and we actually listen.
Yeah.
So it comes and tells you in that off moment, in that I don't feel right in disease. Like I learned so many things through disease on my own body. Like I have to break my body to be able to listen.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like very passionate that you have to really connect both. You cannot just work one without the other. It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. You need to bring that balance in between. And sometimes we get lost, or we try to do what everybody is doing,
Yeah.
and that like cookie cutter, but it's not like repeat, copy paste and repeat. It's more like, okay, this works, but I can add it to my own practice. I can add it to my own way of how it works for me, and that's okay. I don't have to do it like it's reading on the book. You have to do this one step, two, three, four, and then if I don't do it, it doesn't work. No, because it doesn't work like that. It's just it is the beauty of these modalities and the beauty of this work, right? That there is not one set in stone work. It
Yes.
works based on you, and that's the beauty.
Yeah. I love that. So there's a couple things you said that you are from Costa Rica. So what moved you, or when did you move? What moved you from Costa Rica?
I moved because of my husband. He's from Toronto,
Okay.
so we kind of decided to give it a try, and we've been back and forth. We actually came back again this year, mostly because the world ended in 2020 and then rebirth again, and it went through a whole this ego transition that collectively, I would say. So we were stuck back there. Like there was no flights to come back. So that was pretty experience. Like we'll say, I want to call it pretty, although it was not pretty. It was the ego death for the both of us,
Mm.
and it showed a lot of wounds that I still had within myself. That we get into healing, and we think that at the beginning is like, okay, once I heal this, it
Yeah.
stops. No, it doesn't. That's like, I think that's one of the things that I like when I tell people, it's like, no, it doesn't. It's just you get to that point and then, oh, there's another thing to heal here. Healing
Mhm.
is a journey, it's not a destination, it's not a one-time stop, right? So we during that period, we I kind of uncover gifts that I didn't know I had. One, that's when I start working more energetically. I always been have this people will always come and tell me, like, you know what, I feel better when I'm around you, or when you touch me, or please put your hands here, even when I wasn't even doing this. And I'm like, okay, you do it because like you're nice.
Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
it.
Right.
If you don't know what you're doing, you
Yeah.
just do it. And I had a few people, like I grew up in a very conflictive home. I'll be honest. My mom is a physician. My dad
Mhm.
was a physician, but that we didn't. It was not like a marriage. Like they were not together.
Okay.
And I went through sexual abuse as a kid, and psychological abuse and different things that went through. So, and there was like this religion thing. Like my mom is Catholic, my aunties are Christians, and then there was like this bounce into when I went to Catholic school for 3 years, and I really hated it, to be honest. With all due respect to everybody, like I feel like I was the black sheep because I didn't fit in.
Mhm.
And not because I don't believe. I have a very strong faith that God is real, and I have seen it work within me on my pregnancies,
Mhm.
on moments where you are like, he was there. Like I don't know how to explain it. It was, you walk, you cross the street because it tells you like just cross now, and you cross it at the moment something happened, or
Yeah.
you feel like, okay, I was protected right now. And I have this connection, but to be honest, religion just makes you connect through somebody else, and lose your own connection, right?
Yes, yes,
Like
yes,
that third
yes.
party connection, and then you are lost because you're like, I want to connect myself, but I have to go through this person, but this person is human too, and it's not perfect,
Yes.
and because we're not perfect, and then this conflict, and then if you don't do this exact cookie cutter, then you are bad, like you're bad. And again, I was a troubled teenager. Like I was a teen mom, abused multiple times before 12. So I had my issues as a teenager, right? Like, and nobody tells you you go through all these issues because of this thing that happened to you. Like, my family got into a division once I expressed one of the abuse. So the other two went like very quiet. Actually, I wrote it on my book and I just put it there, mostly because I feel like they had to kind of be expressed to be released as well
Mm,
too. But there's this conflict, right, where some protect you, others don't, and then as a teenager I broke loose. Like I call it like a path to self-destruction, pretty much. That's how
sure.
I call it. Like, you lose yourself completely. So there's always that wrong feeling that you're wrong, that you're broken when you're not, but that's how
Yeah.
people see it, right? Like, you're not behaving a certain way. You're a girl. You shouldn't be doing this. You had kids before, like kids at 16 and 15, and then like that. Just that by itself is a big boon. And if you add all the religious parts, it's like you're going to hell.
Yeah.
You're doomed. So there's a lot of break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
there's a lot of like there's a lot of healing that I think 2020 came into the fore and it start kind of going even deeper than I was,
mm,
because you didn't have any other option. It was like the world went into a healing and renew mode, where we all kind of have to figure out, either we keep walking this way or we just move to the other side and walk on the other lane, or we just froze. And in that, whether we felt it, some people feel it and they work on it, others feel like off because that's the disconnection. And then others, like healers, I believe, like people that are doing the kind of work that we do, we kind of, it's not an option. We just, it's the push, and it's like, no, I'm not giving you an option. Like, you gotta go through that because it's your path to go through that.
yeah.
And I know my path as a kid might have been very rocky, and it was not perfect. Like, yes, it looked perfect because my mom is a doctor and we have a home, and we go to private school, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
outside looks
Yeah.
perfect, inside is not perfect. And if I didn't went through all of that, even though the painful experience, even all the breaking and the tears and everything, I wouldn't be the person that I am right now.
Yeah.
Right. So coming to terms to that and knowing that I'm the one breaking the cycle, because
Yeah.
we come from a line of generational sexual trauma. Like,
Mm,
it's not just me. It happened to women in my line before me. And in order for my daughter not to experience that, or my grandkids or my boys, like, it has to stop with me. Otherwise, it's like I take my work and you put it on them. And that's part of the comprehension and coming to terms to, okay, I'm the one doing this. So there's no other option. Like, brace yourself. Like, we're gonna do this. Oh my god. I don't know how to do this, but I have to do it because no way I'm not passing that to my kids. And you cannot not know. Once you know that, you cannot just kind of forget about it.
yeah.
It doesn't become possible. So, oof.
Okay, there's a couple things that I wanted to. So, were you in Costa Rica during 2020 or were you in Canada during 20 in Costa
No,
Rica?
Costa
Okay.
Rica.
So,
Which I find it a bless though,
yeah.
because we were
I
on
mean,
the
a
beach
beautiful
side.
place to be stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, we were on the beach side. So even between the beach side and the downtown locations, there were like, where I was like, Cos Limon is a province, and
Okay.
south that there's what we call Caribe Sur, which is where the beaches are, like
Okay.
the beautiful, or the most beautiful beaches are. It's
Mm,
expat land too. There's like more expats and more like
sure.
that mix, right? So they were not, what they did was they didn't kind of buy into all the restrictions, just the ones that
Mm,
were like mandatory, like closing the beaches,
yeah.
that one. But they were more open, they walk barefoot, they're more connected to the earth.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have different versions. So people were not like, don't talk to me and don't see me. So it was more freedom. You didn't
Hmm.
feel locked,
Yeah.
even though you were kind of on that spot and you didn't kind of went outside, but you had access to nature. You have access to hearing
Yeah.
monkeys, and it's very different. Like I will find that that was a blessing, and
Hmm.
long along, I'm gonna tell you why it was there. But yeah, it was a blessing.
Yeah. So I was in Costa Rica in February, January or February, in Nosara.
This year,
Yeah,
this
just
year.
this last year I was. Yep. In
Oh,
Nosara, and it was gorgeous. Absolutely. I mean, I just felt like both my husband and I, it was just us, and we're like, this is a magical place. Like, I want to come back here. And so we were already are talking about coming back because
it's a
it's
portal. That's what it says. I haven't been in Osara for a while, to be
mhm,
honest. It's on a far edge. So it's
yeah,
not kind of easy just to go on a day trip or
yeah,
something, right? So I haven't been there, but I feel like it's been on my radar. Like this year, everybody that I know, like you, or even in the convention, like last September,
yeah,
there were so many people living in Osara. I'm like, okay, you're calling me.
yeah,
Why are you calling me? Like maybe I should come when I go to visit. Maybe I should take a trip just by myself and see
yeah,
what happened.
yeah. Because Brooke, so Brooke that does the
Yeah,
dancing, she's in Nosara too, and so
yeah.
I saw her when I was there. That was actually the reason that we went there is because she's like, "Oh, it's so beautiful here. You should come here." And so I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So,
It is beautiful, actually.
yeah, yeah. So did you you met your husband before 2020, right? So
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
was
and
really
so how if you were he was in Toronto and you were in Costa Rica, how did you guys meet?
online. He was actually in California.
Okay,
He will work on the states for
okay,
quite some time. So
gotcha.
he will in California working, and then I I I went through a 3 year gap where no relationship. I
Hmm.
will have what we call friends with benefits, to be honest. But it was more like I don't want to have a commitment. Like I wasn't ready. I did feel like okay, I'm not ready for this. I finished a long term relations that was very toxic, and that's where the healing went because that's when my body broke. Like my body had to be broken in order for me to kind of start looking. So I went into chronic depression at 23rd, 23, 22. I went into
Hmm.
chronic pain, chronic depression. So that spin off into weight gain. So I gained like 25, 20 kilos in like a year time, right? And all this process really led me to become more addictive to pills. Like I didn't manage my day without painkillers because the pain was too much. And as a mom, as a daughter of a physician, then everything is workable with the pill, right? So I had depression medication, pain medication, and then I went to nutrition school and I use diets which they don't work, and I don't abide to diets. Diets don't work at all.
Yeah.
Like I know it is not what we're taught, but honestly, diets are just a bogus belief. But I was doing it the convention way, and the convention way was not working. I would feel better. I would feel like worse
Mm.
over time, and then it just became this thing where like I'm a zombie. Like I was on the zombie line,
Yeah.
just going with my day to day,
Mm.
uh, doing all these different things that were not doing anything. And that's around that time. That was like during those 3 years, having my daughter and everything. Even during the pregnancy was a very traumatic pregnancy. Felt pain like ever before, and I have a high tolerance to pain. Like when I say it hurts, it's because it's really like if you feel it at 8, I feel it like normally at 20. So when it's
Mm.
hurting, it hurts. And it was like this painful whole pregnancy. Like there was pain and fear of losing her, that she had like a threat of miscarriage at 13 weeks, and I was on hospital by 26 week, and then she was born before 30 week. And then it was like a whole process where I felt like my body was like it was not feeling the same as with the first two. And and the fear. There was like this thing that I after that I went and decided not to have more kids. So I did the surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and because there was a fear, like there was part of me that's saying that if you go through this, you may not come on the other side. Like the
Mm-hmm.
baby
Wow.
will not come because I almost lost her. So I was like, I cannot survive. Like I know physically, like barely I will survive, but me as a core
Mm. Yeah.
going through a loss at that age, like 6 months, we're talking a full baby, right? Like going
Mm-hmm.
through that loss, which I saw people when I was in the hospital going through that same
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible experience. So I was like, I just felt like I don't have the strength where it felt like that. I don't know if we actually would be
Mm-hmm.
like that, but I was like, I'm not taking any chances. So
Yeah.
I had her, and after that, no more babies.
Mm-hmm.
No more babies, because my body needed to heal, and I think she came to alchemize a lot of different things.
Mm.
Actually, if you know, if you see her, she's like the one that calls you, and it's like, but you said this thing, and why are you doing this? And then you told me this, and then why are you contradicting? Like you're telling me this, but you're doing this. She
Mm.
calls you on your BS, like right straight in your face. Sometimes it's a blessing, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, give me peace.
She was sent just for that reason.
She's a projector. She's a projector. I'm a generator. She's a projector, and she is a 5'1", which I'm still learning, and I'm a 4'6", and she really has that in her profile. Like she will call things as they are. She will bring it, and I feel like she's part of my healing because she brings a lot of the feminine energy wounds that I had, that I
Mm.
went through all these years, right? And she bring them, and then the trigger when I learned, which is part of these last pretty much 5 years, that trigger, as soon as she started bringing them, it was like, okay, you are like bringing this because I still have this thing here. I still feel not so nice in here, where I still try to kind of capsule that. And kids are like such a great teachers. I really feel like when they tell you you pick up your parents and you pick up your life, even though it might not be so pretty, because some people will
Yeah.
say like, but I wouldn't chose this. Your soul
Mm.
contract chose the experience
Yeah.
to remember and to be doing what you're needed to do. And it's crappy sometimes. I'm going to say it's a rainbow and unicorns. No, it's crappy, but it brings you those moments where you find yourself if you're listening. Otherwise, you just come back to repeat the cycle.
Mm. Yeah. I agree. Wow, that was so good. Yeah. I mean, I do. I feel like our children are sent to for our lessons, for our healing, for they're like our mirrors.
Mm,
It's a very beautiful thing. Yeah.
yeah, mirrors. And sometimes we don't want to watch the mirror. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
please, not today.
Exactly.
Let's do it
Yeah.
tomorrow. And that's
Yeah.
okay. It's part
Mm-hmm.
of the journey. It will come. Eventually will come, but it's part of the journey. And they
Yes.
learn from us too. They learn by
Yes.
watching, not
100%.
even by what we're saying. They learn by watching. So
Yeah.
it's part of the of this cycle, right, that we are in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. So, what do you? There was another question I was going to ask you about that too, but now I forget. I was going to ask you two questions, but if I remember it, I'll ask you. But for now, I'm going to ask you, what do you feel is your soul's purpose?
That's a deep question.
It is,
I
and it can
feel,
change too. I mean, I feel like it
yeah,
can change.
it can
Like it
change.
may have been different when you were, younger
Oh, when I
before
was a
you got
kid,
into this work. Yeah.
I had none. I think that one of my things uh, as a kid, I didn't have one kind of set. We always ask, and then it changes. I kind of came to terms with medicine. I went into med school and nutrition school early 20s, and then around 28, I go back again. Um, I always felt called. I love medicine. I feel there's a deeply connection, but the thing is that when I went, I also saw the polarity of it, the duality where medicine that we know of or that we grew
Hmm.
up in this part of the world is not real medicine, it's a band-aid. And in
Mhm.
most times the training itself for you to become a doctor or a nurse or a nutritionist, it forces you to disconnect from your own core. And
Yes.
then as the path, when you reach that goal, then you're completely disconnected and you're going into one, two, three, the faster the go, like you're not even seeing the whole anymore.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that disconnection makes, it's, I think is what we need to heal now in the medical
Mhm.
terms. Because
Yes.
if we heal that, if we actually, it's not doctor's fault, it's not the
Right.
physician fault,
Yep.
it's the process that we created for them to be, to get the techniques and the skills. Great, but
Yep.
we separated the part that makes them human. And
Mhm.
you're not dealing with the
Yeah.
chair, you're dealing with another human. You need that part, you need that sensation. So I decided to drop off from med school when I found myself into that loop, trying to be, and then questioning, like, do I really want to be that kind of doctor or no? Because my idea was, or what I was craving in my heart was to sit with women. I wanted to be a OBGYN, a gynec.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
what I like, because I think my own experience during pregnancies felt like, okay, you need more connection, right?
Mhm.
There's this, it's such a tender moment, and you really need that connection and more openness, which we don't have. Like, it's just
Mhm.
plain and simple, we don't have. I got very well treated because my mom is a doctor,
Right.
but I saw different things and different behaviors when I was in
Mhm.
there. I was like, that's not, it's
Yeah.
not right.
Right.
And as in the school, I went and see the teachers doing the same. They're not even caring about your, what you're gonna do. They're caring about how you prove to them, not even to yourself. Like, it's about an ego. They're driven by their ego.
Yeah.
And then when I got into that, I was like, no, that's not, I'm not devoting 5, 10 years of my life to ended up doing and being, because you become who you are surrounded with,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
That, that's not my vocation. That's not how I see it. In my heart didn't feel right. I love it. And I mixed the knowledge and the wisdom that I learned, and I kept learning on my own
Mhm.
with the practices that I do, because there is no one or the other. It's
Yeah.
both. It's just that disconnection that happened, but in reality it's both. So I like to kind of bring that and
Mm.
work together. Now I feel a very deep call to enhance community, to make women remember their medicine. I feel that my story, what I share, what I come, whether they're 10 people saying yes or whether there's one people saying yes, the people that see it is because they need to receive it. So it's, that's my soul, like bringing it to the perspective, my own message. We might have different similar backgrounds or similar stories, we have gone through similar things, but how I bring it or how you bring it or how another sister bring it is completely different, because we
Mhm.
are unique, our
Yeah.
unique expression. It's just, there's only me, one me on this lifetime, nobody else. So how I share that, my story, my perspective of how I went through it, it's very, very unique way of doing it myself, and it's meant not for everybody. It's meant maybe just for one at one point,
Mhm.
maybe just for 10, but it's meant to reach someone. I don't need to know who, and I
Yeah.
don't need to know how. I just know that if I feel like, okay, I have to come online and say this, it's because I have to say it, and someone out there
Mhm. Yeah.
will reach to that message and will feel it, even if it doesn't know why. When it receive, it will code, change the frequency or change the code within, because that's what it needed to do.
Mhm.
And I don't need to know how.
Yeah.
And I feel that also in this world, we as a healers or as coaches, sometimes we get too much into the, I need to book, or I need to
Mhm.
be book,
Yeah.
and we also tend to forget who are we serving or why actually we're serving, because
Yeah.
at the end we start doing it because we feel a deep call of, oh wow, I really don't want to see other women going through that. Why doing it alone? So we're separated, and community has been calling me this year in particular. I feel like so much disconnection and so much fake communities, And I'm gonna say fake because if you're not buying from them, then it's not part of the community.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then that's not community. Like if um, we all have a business, we all have
Right.
make a living. There's a balance in that. But when you say I want community and you reject because
Mm,
you're not pay me first, and then I talk to you, then
mm, yeah.
that polarity is like where no, it doesn't work like that. Like there's no friendship. So I do feel like right now there's this duality where like friendships is like not so much friendships. So there's an exchange of energy that is monetary, and sometimes the exchange is just different because
Mm-hmm.
money is energy and
Yeah.
everything is energy. So at the end, it might be a different exchange. It might be something that I'm telling you because I feel like you should receive it, or I share it because somebody's gonna see it. I may not know who, so I'm
Yeah.
not getting paid for it, but I know I have to say it. There's like this
Mm-hmm.
thing
Yeah.
because that's just my purpose. And how it accommodates that energy transaction might be money transaction, might be something different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like the point is that you never know. It's just following that inner guidance that tells
Yeah.
you this is not just for me. I didn't went through all this pain, so I can keep it in, bitter myself, and then bitter others. I came so I can transform. And what I learn, I share so others can learn from it. If they can avoid going it, great. But if they're on the mist, they're not feeling that they're drowning because that feeling is horrible. The moment that you're feeling like you're in the pool and you're or in the ocean and you don't have nothing to hold on to, and you know you gotta keep going, and there's nobody saying, "Hey, I'm here," or "Hey, there's a chip over there that you can actually go through." It's it's very unsettling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like when I share from the point of, no, you're not alone. Like,
Yeah.
know that we went through this, and yes, it sucks, and yes, it's hard, and I'm not telling you it's gonna be fixed from morning to evening, but there is a way, and you're not gonna die from it. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna help you be better, and you're gonna come out on the other side. And sometimes we just need that hand saying, "I am here," or "Look at the way," and to feel and to gain that strength back.
Yeah. I love that. So, what did your so both of your parents are physicians. So, how is it? Because they are, I'm assuming, are in Costa Rica, right? That's where
Well,
you're
my
from.
dad passed away in 2019, and they were in Limon. He actually is from Limon, and my mom is coming. My mom is on a flight here.
But she's from Costa Rica
She's
still, like
here.
practices there. And so, how are the practices different? Because here, like you talked about, it's very, we're going to give you a pill for this or a band aid. That's
Same.
how it is here. It's the same in there in Costa Rica.
I find that hospitals are a big high school. The
Interesting.
popular group, the not so middle, the nerds, the fit ones, the ones that are like rich or have like money,
Sure.
then those who are struggling in between, and then the loners, and then those who don't get along with anybody. I feel like really when I see or when I go to hospitals, I see that. Like I have seen it when with my mom works. Uh, where you gotta get along, you gotta know how to speak, you always have to watch your back, and you have a hospital full of people that is sick.
Yeah.
So my question always, and that this is something that when she and I talk about, sometimes she gets a little bit in her head because I just come and say it as it is. I don't have this. Let's do it nicely. I
Yeah.
just, if you were doing your job, there would not be people sick. What is that?
Yeah. And
Like
what
there
does
will
she
not
say?
be people sick. Yeah, because it's true. Like
Yeah.
again, if you drive drunk and crash your car, that's on you,
Mhm.
and the doctors were there to put you together, which is great, and that's why we need that kind of like medical
Right.
doctors. But if you have a kid and you go to the pediatrician and you tell the dad you have to fill it with antibiotics since before a year time, they don't even have their gut lining fully developed yet, and you're
Mm,
pumping up antibiotics because it's normal, they're getting defenses, they're going to get a bug here or a bug, and you don't at least invite them to know that there are multiple ways where they can do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And if the mom is breastfeeding, then let's work the mom too, and let's work the emotions of the mom too, because there might be something there. And what about the home? And what about the school and siblings? And there's so many factors
Yeah.
that if parents know, because if you don't know and you're in this conditioning that we are grow to, then it's kind of hard to start if you don't know and everybody's telling you do this way,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But if you as a doctor know there's other ways, and it's your job not just to give the band-aid, but it's your job as a figure, authority figure, as a medical healer, because
Mhm.
doctors are healer too in a different
Yeah.
way, but they're still
Yeah.
healer, to share there's another way, there's another path, that it doesn't have to become the permanent path. We're gonna do this because this is like we need it right now and
Right.
it's needed.
Yeah.
But you don't have to keep this path for the rest of your life because you can fix it this way. And then we can work it in a different way where you don't need me every single month or every 6 months. Or you don't need me when you're 80 because you took responsibility from your own health and learn different tools, and that will lead to a more collective,
Right.
like
Right.
more healing and health wise abroad the spectrum if we did that. But again, there is a process. Doctors
Mhm.
are not taught
Yeah.
nutrition or holistic or alternative medicine in the program, so how are they going to know? They need to want to know, and not everybody wants to know because there's also the ego that says I know it
Mhm.
all already because I'm
Yeah.
an MD. And I have, out of respect to them, I know the work that they do in the study that they have to go. I grew up with my mom being on call and saving people's and working on triage and emergency, and knowing that she wasn't with me because she was helping somebody else, which
Yeah.
I do respect that and I do believe we need that. And but there's also the part where, as in the process, some, not all of them, but some kind of lose kind of the vision, the vocation, where they get there, and it becomes more about the profit, and
Yeah.
that's where we lose completely this connection. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it comes to healing. We need to kind of come together. I think that there's more movement now, and there's more
Mhm. Yes.
MDs and more nurses and more like nutritionists, like trying to kind of involve all the areas and being more open to, okay, I didn't learn it in school, but I can learn it here
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I can implement it. And then more open to say, like, there's a different way. This doesn't feel right anymore. So I do believe we're in a path where there's going to be change for
Yeah.
that.
I mean, that's my background is I was a nurse up until 3 years and 2 months ago is when I left my hospital job. And so when you were talking about the COVID piece and how COVID kind of shifted a lot of things for people just because of whatever happened. But that gave me that push. Like I had been burnt out and overwhelmed for years. I knew I wanted something else. But COVID kind of gave me that push to be like, okay, what, it also really pushed, I think, our healthcare down a wrong path too. And so
Very,
I was seeing that shift where it was like, it became about the profit.
yeah,
And I just felt like we were shuffling people in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. They only cared about the numbers. The COVID numbers was like, that's all they cared about. And I was like, this is not why I went,
I know.
this is not why I became a nurse. Like, I became a nurse to help people. And so it's very interesting in that, like, I was very Western medicine as well. Like, I mean, we grew up, the second you got sick, you took a pill, you had an antibiotic, or if you had a headache, you took a pill. Like, that's how I learned. And so up until 3 years ago, that's how I did life. And now I'm learning there's just so many other ways of healing. And it's just beautiful. But it is worst if you're in this Western medicine model, you don't know any different. You don't know any better. This is just how you've been taught. This is, what the lie that they've been telling us is that this is the only way. And now it's like, wow, there is so many ways to heal our body. There's so many things out there for us. And what works for me might not work for you. What works for you. So it's just finding what works for you and that healing modality that works for you. And yeah,
And knowing that that might change. Like
yes,
when I
100%.
started, I didn't do breath work, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't sit in meditation like I do now. When I started, it was very hard for my body to kind of sit because we're
Yeah.
not used to sit. We're just to
Right.
do. And I tap into my energy, my masculine energy for so long, hustle, hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of the things that like 2020 came, and actually more like 2021, when I went through a period of living in the States for a few months and then burning every single penny that we had to a point that we had to actually sleep on the car. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like the peak where you find yourself in a position where you're like, how did I get here? And why? Like what? Like why? Different life a year ago before, and then you're here.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I'm gonna be honest. Like it took time for me to bounce. I'm still bouncing. There's still things healing that I'm doing from that particular period
Mm-hmm.
where my body went into a level of stress and anxiety that I didn't felt before, for things that I never felt before either. So it takes you knowing these tools. That's when I kind of realized, okay, I went into fear mode. Then the
Mm-hmm.
mindset work, like
Yeah.
part of the mindset work that I was doing there, that start because of the position that I was, or the process that I was going through, and then realizing of my masculine wound, which I knew, but I wasn't paying attention too much. It was more like, okay, let's just keep you here over there
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you still kind of have all patterns, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make you a perfect. Saying that we are coaches or healers or we work with holistic medicine or we're doctors, it doesn't matter. We're still healing. We're still human. We're still doing life. And life has balls that come anywhere, and some
Yes.
can just knock you down your feet, and you're like, okay, what the hell happened here? Like, how do I
Mm-hmm.
get up? And when we have that imbalance, it creates disease.
Yeah.
So knowing the connection with your body will allow you to feel that, okay, I'm going into this mindset, this way of thinking, and your body is going to feel something. If it is love, it's going to feel beautiful, but if you're going into
Mm-hmm.
a more negative mindset, it's going to trigger different feelings. And that's your key to know, okay, where does my body is feeling that pain, because it points out like to a particular spot
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
will tell you, and then it gives you the tools to, okay, you cannot just pretend that it's not there. You
Right.
have to consciously release it
Yes.
and work through it. And sometimes it's like that, and other times you gotta sit with that baby and just go through the whole thing. And because that baby is attached to other babies that you didn't even know that were there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, let's just sit. But seeing the contrast in the reality, in how your mind, thought, feelings, and emotions kind of transform your life, and has seen both ways, bringing you good things and throwing the house out of the window. And when I come back, which is more like my inner work, saying in taking responsibility of, okay, I shift my mindset here, and I let myself go into this rabbit hole, and now I have to turn that boat back and go back out of the rabbit hole so I can go into the prayer and then just jump around free again. But it comes with responsibility of, it's
Mm-hmm.
not about them, or
Yeah.
it's not about the world. And yes, the situation around the world changed a lot during 2020 and 2021, is still like shifting. But how I feel, how I thought, what I do for me, how I take responsibility over my own health, it's on me. It's
Mm-hmm.
not on the world. And that is, I think, is one of the most important steps in any journey. Whether you're starting, you're midway, you're like doing this for 25 years,
Yeah.
every time we face with that, it's like, okay, it's very easy to put it out there, but we got to bring it home, because the only way that we're going to correct the we're going to correct the situation, whether it's disease, whether it's something that is happening around us, is by taking responsibility over our own mess, for putting it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, how do you help women? You said you help women and you do energy work and some other things that you've mentioned. So, how does it work? Do you see people in line or online or in person, or like what do you do?
I
Kind of.
do see people now more online
Hmm.
than in person. Well, again, because of the whole shift, right? It became more online. I do Reiki. I can do Reiki online. I do Reiki also in person when I know, or when I'm
Mhm.
like in a position where I cannot do it. uh, but energy work is, it's more like working with them, and like what we call like intuitive healing. So every woman is different.
Mhm.
Some women will come with very clear desire of, okay, I want to heal this part, and others are just off. And that's where you need to kind of work and be conscious that you need to tap into their energy frequency and start seeing what are you receiving for them. So
Mhm.
I customize programs where I work one-on-one depending upon the needs. And depending upon what they need, I always start with the inner work first and
Mhm.
then the physical work, because like I said, it's both. But you cannot fix the ultimate layer, which is the flesh, if we haven't fixed what is inside, because it will be like it will be putting a band-aid, and they will keep feeling the same way. So you actually has to start doing that, and when you do that, you will see even the physical body will start changing without you even doing something. That's how I lost 20 kilos. That's
Yeah.
how I helped with
Mm.
weight loss,
Yeah.
because you start healing, and then whatever is imbalance, disease is pretty much imbalance
Mhm.
in the body, in the physical realm, it will start kind of finding their own path. And whatever is left, then you can work it directly. Sometimes you will need a little bit of both medicines. And sometimes you're gonna just have to change your lifestyle and have to kind of make commitments to your life, because you can ask for healing, but if you are still eating the same way because you became so accustomed to do so, then you feel great, but you still kind of have wired to do it this way, then you have to work on that too. Or if you're in a toxic relationship and you're
Yeah.
doing your healing, part of the healing is like, okay, is this serving you? Because
Mhm.
you're on the right path, but then you go home or
Yeah.
meet that person, and then you step back two steps
Yeah.
because that person is a trigger, that person is not meant to you. And sometimes that healing requires you to make hard decisions that
Yeah.
are not easy, right? Or in
Mhm.
the work that you are or what you're doing. It requires sometimes even to saying no to clients, because
Yeah.
you got to know who you
Yeah.
work with.
Yeah.
You got to be also mindful of your frequency, and also knowing that you're here and you are here not for every single person. You're here for some, and then it's okay if there's no match, because there's somebody that is actually meant to work with that person, and
Yeah.
that's the right path. And it's okay, there's nothing wrong with also keeping your boundaries and uh, your integrity in that way, when I can help you and when I know I'm not the right fit for you. So I work differently with women dependently on what they need or what they come. Normally we do first one-on-one where I listen. Okay, you
Mhm.
then pretty much put it out there, so we can actually start seeing where do we start, if we're a right fit, if we have to kind of go both, or if we need to just kind of stick to a program, like
Mhm.
more commitment, because also healing requires your responsibility to accept the healing,
Yeah.
right? You have to accept
Yeah.
that you're gonna work, and then it's not me doing the work, it's you doing the work and me walking right next to you.
Yeah. Mm. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you have a book.
Yeah.
So I would love maybe if you just want to tell us what the book is called, maybe talk a little bit about the book before we have to wrap it up here.
I wrote a book at the beginning of this year. It was a very tender subject because I
Mhm.
wrote about my healing journey through sexual abuse. So the book is called Breaking Silence: A Healing Journey from Sexual Abuse. Is in Amazon, Kindle, and physical paperback.
Yeah.
And this book came out of a channeling. When I
Mhm.
channel, it just came, and it was very. You gotta write it. Like you gotta share your story. Do it.
Mhm.
There was some resistance, I'm gonna be honest,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you gotta put it out. Once you put it out there, you can't take it back. So I
Very
put it out
true. Yes.
there. So I was like, okay, and then I sit with that for a few, and then it just came like very clear. And then I start just writing. So basically, the first chapter is like my story,
Mhm.
my journey through the sexual assaults, the ages, family dynamics after what I call my self path to destruction mode, which started as
Mhm.
trying to commit suicide at 15, having
Mhm.
babies after that, and then losing them at 20, and then that spiral into chronic depression, which was the trigger. So
Mm.
the chronic depression and all the things that I did. So I pretty much talk about breath work, stillness,
Mm.
movement, and dancing. Somatic practices are key. And dancing for me is one of the most healing ways. And I'm not talking salsa dancing here, right? Like,
Yeah,
although it can
yeah,
be, I'm not saying it can be, but I'm talking about that movement where you just move the emotional way, where you're
mm,
so into your body that you are just releasing. So it may be look very weird for some,
yeah.
because I don't like, I look crazy when I do sometimes,
That's okay.
and that's fine. and,
Yeah.
and that's the part of the journey. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Breath work, stillness, those meditation, right, those are part of exercise. I even talk about exercise is important too. We need to heal the body, and trauma cannot be healed from a mental perspective. Like, I can talk to you about
Yeah.
what happened, and in order for me to talk to you about what happened, it means that I have to remember. And when you trigger your memory, you trigger everything that came with the memory. That includes body sensations, that includes
Yeah.
the fear. Your mind doesn't know the difference. So
Yeah.
you're kind of reliving that unless you have the awareness to detach from it. And that's part of the first steps in forgiveness. Actually, the first one of the first steps that I put is forgiveness. I had to forgive my
Mm.
assaulters. I have to
Yeah.
forgive my mom for not protecting me when I was there. I have to forgive myself for going through abuse of alcohol and then sex and then all the things. And forgiveness is the first step and it's the hardest
Yeah.
because you have to really sit. And this is something that I did way before I even started this healing journey, as in the practices. Like I said at the beginning, we have always been guided. And I remember one time that my I was at the point of breaking, like that fine line. I was like 24. That was even before my right, a little bit before my pregnancy, my last pregnancy. And I remember knowing something that says just write a letter and forgive
Mm.
and let go, because you are like, if you don't do that, you're not going to survive this. It's
Yeah.
like you're trying to kill yourself in order to hurt everybody else,
Uh,
and you cannot keep going that way.
yeah.
And that was like right after I lost my voice, actually. Like, loss, I mean, like I had to kind of surrender. And sometimes the greatest love that a mother can have is to know when it's time to let go. And at that point, at that particular moment, regardless the pain and the separation, that was the best for them. If you don't do, if I didn't do it, was more as a selfish mode, and then the consequences are on me, right? Because you put them in a position where they need to heal your thing. And for me, it was very clear, I don't need to heal, they don't need to heal what I am doing. That's my job, right? So that's forgiveness. Is, I will always tell you, and I know it sounds like sometimes like you repeat the same things, and there's some things that are so important and people forget, and they're so simple, and they don't require you to buy services, to buy a book, to do, like, it's just available to you, which
Mhm.
is forgiveness and surrender. And that doesn't mean I forget what happened. No,
Right.
you don't forget, but you detach. You don't see it anymore as in it happened to me, poor
Mm.
me, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna carry this in my shoulders, and the resentment and all the things that came from it. It's just more like I forgive you, because I know nobody does that intentionally, as in wake up one day as a baby and say I'm gonna do this.
Right.
There's a lot of different things that can happen to someone else in their life to reach that point. And
Hmm.
who knows what, we don't have to get into that, but the reality is that nobody gets to that point without going through even maybe the same thing,
Yeah.
and then thinking that is normal. That's the reality. Like, there's so many faces, and there's just plain simple evil, which we
Yeah.
know that too. But again, it's a work, so I cannot heal that person, but I can call back my power, call back my
Yes.
energy,
Yes.
call my healing back to me, and say, you know what, it happened, I forgive you, you hurt me, you broke me. But if you didn't do that, and then you bring the positive, I wouldn't have gone through all the things that I went through, and I wouldn't be able to help other women right now. And that part led me to learn to do energy work, embrace my gift that I was afraid of,
Mm, yeah.
and share it with other women and light the path for others that may not have someone in their life that are supporting. Because the reality is that sexual abuse is something that is still very traumatized, and most women don't
Yes.
speak about it
Right.
because they get re-victimized. What did you do? Why did you? Maybe you don't remember.
Yeah.
It happened. It happened to me from my own family. So it's
Mm,
just it's a cycle that most women don't share, and they carry
mm,
very in. So I wrote the book with whoever reads the book can see that despite the darkness, I came out the other side. And
mm,
at the end, I read the letter that I make for women, where it's more like a loving letter for any sister, because we need to kind of have love and compassion when you are willing to do your healing, whether you're doing it online and sharing it with others, or where you're doing it in the comfort of your couch and
mhm.
just doing it for you. You need to know you're not alone. And
Yeah.
women have been conditioned to think that we're alone. It's just our job, our family, our this, just me, and we don't have to ask for help because we look less of
Right.
or or weak, and that's not the reality. When we do conversations like we're doing right now, and we put it out there, and someone listen, it makes them feel part of that community, that collective, and that's the job. It
Mm,
doesn't matter the rest of the energy exchange. The job was building that, making someone know, like, hey, I'm not alone in this world. There's other women
yes.
that are going through that, and they're making it through. They're walking, and despite the hardness and the break and the pain, there's a way outside of this. We don't have to sit in darkness alone. So that's part of
Mm,
that. That's what I wrote it. At the end, it just felt like
yeah.
it needed to be placed there. It's available, like I said, in Amazon for whoever wants to read it. It's a short book. I'm not going to say it's not a Bible. I don't go into explaining the why, and
Mhm.
I don't get into the logical. It's more like this is what happened, this is how it helped for me. Take what you need
Mhm.
and leave the rest. Because what works for me not necessarily works for you. It might be just one thing out of that. It might be just forgiveness that you need, or it
Yeah.
might be just movement, or it might be just breath work. Take what you need and leave the rest and move on with your journey. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah. Wow, I loved everything you just said and talking about it. And now I want to get your book because I don't have it. I don't think I even knew that you had a book until we just started talking. So,
Honestly, I
um,
gotta do more promotion on that.
yes, you
I put
do.
it, and I did like 1 week of promotion, and after that I just kept it on my gram, and I just put it over there. And I feel that that's something that it just felt like if I push it, it's more like at a transaction mode than
Sure.
that. And I know I'm doing my own healing on that part, because yes,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's okay to receive compensation or energy exchange from what you do. There's
Mhm.
totally okay. But because of the sensitivity of the book, I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
like, okay, let me see who gets it.
Hmm.
I've been feeling lately like, yeah, I should probably talk more about it, because if I don't talk about it, like maybe it's not reaching those who are meant to reach. But like I said, it's in Amazon, both Amazon Canada is available worldwide, and it's in Kindle as well. It's like I said, small, concise. It was meant to help
Yeah.
and to light the way. Like it's just more like if you are not ready to speak your truth, hear me speak
Mhm.
mine,
Yeah.
so you can empower yourself to at least speak to yourself your own truth. You don't have
Yeah.
to come and yell it, but sometimes we don't want to even say it to ourselves, and
Mhm.
that's the part that is kind of hard, right? Not even being able to say
Yes.
to ourselves, I went through this.
Mhm.
So the book is basically that, like, it's breaking silence. That's why I chose the breaking silence. Is It's something that we keep too much, and it's not go and shout out of the world, hey, I was this and it happened to me. No, it's more like say it to yourself and come to healing, and know that you can do this and it can help you, and start. It can help you start. And
Yes.
that's where we need. Once you start, it's like a snowball, right? It
Mhm.
just gets bigger and bigger, and then you do the healing that comes through all the other areas that happen,
Mhm.
that get touched by situations like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just the physical body or
Yeah.
ourselves, it's all areas in all the conditionings and limiting belief and things that we believe about ourselves because it happened. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're not even angry at the abuser, we're angry at ourselves. We're
Yeah.
allowing it. And that's not a reality. We didn't allow it, but in some cases, sometimes not fighting means survival.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
and there's a lot of conditioning why you didn't fight or why
Right.
you. In my case, I was a child, so
Yes.
a little bit of that. But in women, in adult women that go through even rape or any kind of abuse like
Mhm.
that, why you don't fight it? Sometimes fighting it means
Yeah.
I'm gonna die, like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
So not doing anything gets me through live another day, and there's nothing wrong with that because
Right.
you cannot heal if you're not here.
Right.
Sometimes that's just the path that you have to do, and there's nothing wrong, there's no shame, there's no you didn't ask for it. It's just your survival brain, which is there for a reason, for this particular reason, keep us
Mhm.
alive for the next day. And we do. And you don't have to build shame about it. I think we need to, as women, we need to feel heal that part,
Yeah.
even between us, because sometimes the more shame that comes, it comes from sisters, and not necessarily from. It's more like the judgment that we were conditioned to have. Again, something put upon ourselves that we're not meant to have, but that we have. And then we have to heal every day because sometimes we do it even unconsciously. It's just so
Mhm.
wired, so deep rooted, centuries, millennials of deep rooted conditioning to go against us, that even with our work, we have to kind of keep reminding ourselves, like, okay, hold on, when I'm kind of derailing here, and then go back. And it's a daily job. It's not it's a daily job. It's just something that we kind of have to keep doing.
Yeah.
There's no other. And sometimes we just have to stop and rest. Like
Yes.
sometimes we need to kind of say, you know what, I'm done with spirituality. I'm done with that. I want to binge watch Netflix,
Yes.
had a glass of wine, and just can I just disconnect a little bit and
Mhm.
then come back. Sometimes that's part of the healing. Just drop the
Yes.
ball a little bit consciously.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
important part is that you're doing consciously. You're
Yes.
not just numbing yourself. You're knowing that you need this, and then the next day you come back. Like, that's fine.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love everything that you just spoke on, all of it. And I know that it is here and it's meant for whoever is listening.
Yeah,
And that's why it is your medicine. This is your medicine that you're sharing with the world. Even just you going first, you saying, okay, this is how it is. I'm opening up conversation so that you feel like you can now have the conversation with yourself or with somebody else. And so that's really, really beautiful. So thank
yeah.
you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you actually for opening the space because
Hmm.
you're doing and having this space to whoever listens. It's a mean for people like me or for people like you, others to share their stories and
Yeah.
reach more.
Hmm.
And someone is gonna need it and it's gonna have at least 5 minutes of this that they say like, okay, I needed to hear those 5 minutes. And
Yes.
that's it. That's all they needed. But
Hmm.
it happened. And that's your medicine too.
Yeah. Thank you. Mm. Oh, this was such a great conversation. I feel like we could literally continue talking. And I was saying on the last podcast episode that I did, I was like, someday this is going to be a longer podcast. It's going to be like, Joe Rogan, where he's got a podcast that's like 3 hours long. Someday I'm going to get to that point because these conversations, it's like, what are we? We're an hour and 12 minutes in.
And
And
branches.
I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. Like we could just keep going. And so it's
Yes.
hard sometimes when you have these good, deep conversations and you get into topics and you're like, okay, we just could keep going. But also, you have this like podcast window where people will only listen to so much unless you are like a well known name where they're like, oh, yeah, I already know this person, so I'm going to go listen. You know, we're not quite there yet. Someday, someday.
It's gonna happen. Like I said, it's gonna happen. I do recommend, if I can leave anything, is
Yes.
just tap into your heart. Like
Mm,
even for me, this is a reminder that I'm honest to God, I'm working on it daily because it's easier to drop the ball. Listen to your heart, listen to your intuition. Sometimes that little voice that come and say, do it, even if it doesn't make any sense, even if you're not making any quote unquote payment out of it, but it's like hearing, you feel it, like have to go, just listen, because you never know the ripple effect that it's going to have. It might not happen right now, it
Right.
may happen in 2 years, it might happen in 6 months, it might happen in 3 years, it doesn't matter, but it wouldn't have happened then if you didn't listen now. And these conversations, and I do believe with the shift, like energetically shift that is coming,
Mhm.
that is already here. We can feel it. Like
Yes.
we can feel the movement, especially when we're so grounded in our work. We can see the movement. It's going to be needed
Mhm.
because we're coming to a point where we're going to have people that is consciously awakened, and we're going to have people that their job is to remain where they are.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we want to rescue everybody and we want
Yes.
everybody to jump into that.
Yes.
But polarity and duality is a universal law. There cannot be awakening without darkness. There cannot be light without darkness. You
Yes.
cannot have one only.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point it will happen, but we're not there. We're barely kind of having this
Yeah.
collective awakening. And when that happens, there's going to be people, even in our own circles, that we're going to have to love and say,
Mhm.
it's not their time yet, and
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And I love them, and you still send healing and love and protection as much as they allow you to do so, because they
Mhm.
have to say yes in order to receive. And when they do, you do that. And when they're ready, your job is to be their beacon, just your light, just be your own light.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything but be in the light that you are, and
Yes.
they will know where you are,
Mm.
and they will find their way because you have your beacon, like your
Yes.
lighthouse, like a
Yes.
lighthouse for boats. You're just there shining your light, and they will come to you when they need to come. And when they're ready, you will work magic. But they
Mm.
have to be ready.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's our job. Like light our light. That's our job.
Mm. Oh, that was a really great way to end this. That was beautiful. Mm. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for this
Jessica, for having
conversation.
me.
Yeah, it was really, really great. So, all right, everybody that's listening, I will make sure to drop all of her links below, social media I'll put on there, and your book. So if you want to get the book, I'm really interested in reading, so I'm definitely going to go grab it. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Oh, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you loved listening as much as I loved recording. Each and every conversation that I have here on this podcast just lights my soul on fire. I love having conversations where we explore and challenge our ways of thinking. So if you've resonated with anything here and you're looking for more, please connect with me on Facebook in my Soul Deep community group, which is free. I'm also offering all my listeners a free month in my Soul Deep Connection membership. I have poured my heart and soul into this membership, bringing you resources to help you grow into the best and truest version of yourself. I've used my knowledge and experience as a nurse, combined with my knowledge and experience as a coach, breathwork facilitator, and somatic embodiment guide. This library consists of breathwork, kriyas, and other resources and modalities that will help you learn about and give you the healing tools to live the life you've been dreaming about, and to help you find your true passion and zest for life again. This library of resources is vital for everyday maintenance. And on top of the library of resources, there are live monthly calls ranging from breathwork, kundalini, full moon or new moon circles, as well as guest speakers on a variety of different topics from decluttering to marketing to sisterhood and all things healing and wellness. So make sure you join today to get you back on track to living that thriving life that you are longing for. Remember, the first month is free, and my hope is that you find so much value that staying is an absolute no-brainer. It really is everything that I was looking for as I started my journey, and so much more. I truly hope to see you inside my community. And if you haven't yet, please follow me here and on social. Like and subscribe, and make sure to share your favorite episode with your friends and community. And when you do, make sure to tag me in that post. If you tag me, you'll be entered into a drawing for that month where you can win a free one-to-one session, breathwork or coaching session with me. All the links will be in the show notes here below. Until next time, Soul Deep fam, And in the words of my dear friend Mary Lacey Banks, I'm holding you so tight in a thought hug.